Welcome to another. Are we recording?
Yeah. That's that red light down at the bottom, Freeman.
Is this our first one?
727 episodes.
Welcome to another edition of Trail Runner Nation. This is 767. Here we go, Ryan. Welcome to another edition of Trail Runner Nation. This is going to take a while, Lucia. Welcome to another edition of Trail Runner Nation. I'm Don Freeman.
And I'm Scott War. And the hardest part of this podcast is the beginning. Don's done it, 700 plus times, and we're still trying to figure it out.
Ryan, leave them all in. Leave them all in. Let the people hear the stuff. Go ahead, Scott.
Today, we're honored to have Lucja Leonard joining us. If you remember an episode that we did at the beginning of the year with her husband, Dion, and their dog, Gobi, that was one of our favorite discussions about the book Finding Gobi. And boy, if you haven't heard that, click on the link in the show notes or go back and just type in Trail Runner Nation Gobi and it'll pop up whatever player you're using. But Lucia recently, at the beginning of April of this year, conquered the inaugural Arizona Monster 300. It's a destinations trail directed race that follows a little over 300 miles through the rugged terrains of southern Arizona's Ryan, you can figure that out. Southern Arizona's Sonoran Desert has over 41,000 feet of elevation gain and a cutoff time of 170 hours. This race is not for the faint of heart, and Lucia is not faint of heart. She completed it in an impressive 122 hours, 12 minutes, and of course we have to say seconds. I don't know why. 40 seconds, which secured her the 6th position among the female finishers. Now, this is what Lucia does not know. Her intro, which I am going to attempt to read right now, is written by a good friend of hers who happens to be our social media manager, Yana Clayton, and she lives over in France. And they're good friends. And we said, who should write her intro or her biography? Well, it should be Yana. They're friends. So this is what Yana said. So get prepared, Lucia. Lucia Leonard is what happens when you mix raw endurance with grit, glitter, and a truly impressive amount of determination. She was born in the Netherlands, raised in Australia. That's why you have the little Australian accent, I think. And now living life on the road across the U.S. with her husband, Dion, and their world-famous dog, Gobi. Lucia is the kind of person you would want to run with. Her running journey began in 2010 with a marathon, and instead of ticking the box and moving on, she dove headfirst into the world of ultra-endurance. Since then, she's taken on some of the most iconic races out there, UTMB, Moab 240, the Leadville 100, Bigfoot 200, and now the Arizona Monster 300. The kind of events most people dream or fear. For Lucia, this is just part of her adventure. In one race, I told her to give us a little bit of dirt on you, Lucia. In one race, so sleep deprived, she started seeing cats sitting on rocks. She paused to take some photos and later insisted that they were real, despite her husband Dion assuring her otherwise. Spoiler alert, there were no cats. And then there was a time during her so-called influencer phase at UTMB when her crew lugged a fully supported bag that she was gifted around the course, only to find out that she had forgotten to pack for the 35 degrees Celsius, that's 95 degrees here in the U.S., no shorts. Her crew ended up lending her their own clothes because even there's chaos, Lucia will find a way to make it work. What sets her apart, boy, we need to get Yana to kind of concise this thing, right? But it's all good stuff, right, Lucia?
It is.
What sets her apart isn't just her physical strength. It's that even after running 200 plus miles, she can still show up in a sparkly dress, reminding everyone that, yes, you can be tough, stylish, and strong. Can you guys hear that? Sorry. Sorry about that. I forgot to turn off my notifications. There we go. Okay. What sets her apart isn't just her physical strength. It's that even after running 200 plus miles, she can show up in a sparkly dress, reminding everyone that yes, you can be tough, stylish, and strong all at once. A girl that can only be stopped by a mountain lion. I don't know what that means, Lucia. She's a certified level 3 personal trainer, a sports massage therapist, and a running coach through her platform, Running Dutchy Coaching. Anyway.
Awesome. Wow. Well, that's
pretty
an
nice.
introduction.
Obviously,
yeah, thanks,
Yana is a fan, and she's a good friend because she thinks the world of you, Lucia.
That's very sweet.
My question for you, you've run a lot of different races from marathon distance to hundreds to 200s, and now this 300-mile race. This was the inaugural year for this, and I want to know, did it meet, exceed, or disappoint your expectations?
Well, totally exceeded expectations. I had the most fantastic race. I just felt like I ran with joy and happiness throughout the whole thing. Even though Yana might say I smile the whole time, sometimes I do feel like I'm down in the dumps and having some really tough moments. But yeah, through this one, I just felt like I was really into the moment. I love Arizona. I just really wanted to achieve this distance. And yeah, the course delivered. It was a stunning course of all different types of landscapes through the Sonoran Desert, but we went from, saguaro cactuses to alpine mountains down to the hot desert. And yeah, it was just phenomenal with the people that were there, and just had the best experience. So it definitely ticked all those boxes. I hit the lows, I hit the highs, and I hit them again and again, and yeah, had a phenomenal time. So yeah, it was well worth the effort.
Don has run the Triple Crown of 200s, and
yes.
As he was coming into one of the later aid stations, and I was crewing him, he said he was kind of beat up, a little bit, tired, of course, and he said, I finally figured out how Candace does this. She picks the lowest parts and the highest parts of the course and connects the dots. All we've been doing is going up and down, up and down. He says, it's crazy. Is that?
It is.
Do you remember saying that, Don?
Well, I now that you mentioned that, I remember looking out at the landscape and seeing a very high mountain peak. And I said, you know what? I'll bet you that's where we're going next. And sure enough, that's where the ribbons led right to the highest point.
Yep. And every out and back is always up something and back down it.
Lucia, why 300? You've run the Moab 240. Why did you think 240 miles isn't enough for me?
Well, Dion holds the record in the house for the longest distance of 250 miles. So I thought, I have to beat that, right? I have to be the winner in the house. So when 300 miles came up, I just thought, that is it for me. I'm always about testing my own abilities, and I love signing up to races that have a high DNF rate. So when I saw 300 miles, I thought, well, this is going to be a true test of endurance. And who knows if I can finish it. Anything after 240 was uncharted territory. And yeah, that excites me. So why not is the other question.
And so how many other why nots were out there wearing bibs? Were just a few of you, or what size race?
Yeah, crazily, there was about 300 people that started the race.
My goodness.
Yeah, I think we ended up with about 200 finishers. So that's not a bad, finisher rate considering it was, 300 miles. I think that's pretty spectacular.
Yes.
Yeah.
This question is kind of for both of you. I want to get Don's opinion on this too, because I have not run a 200-mile race. But Lucia, at some point through this 300-mile race, are you just in a rhythm that you think nothing different is going to happen? I'm going to have some ups, I'm going to have some lows. But once you hit 200 miles or 140 miles or whatever, are you just thinking, this is just the same thing? I'm doing one foot in front of the other. I'm going to get sick a little bit. I may have some blisters a little bit, but it's the same thing. There's nothing new that is cropping up. Is that true, Lucia? And I want to hear from you too, Don.
No, I think it is true now. I think for my first couple of times, it still was very varied, but I think this is now my fifth 200 plus mile distance. So, yeah, hitting that 200-mile distance, I knew it was now one foot in front of the other. Yeah, things might happen, blisters, sleep deprivation, vomiting, all of the above. But my my crew was quite particular in telling me afterwards that they really noticed once I hit that 200-mile mark, I seemed to be in this zen-like space where I was so chilled, nothing phased me. Like anything that was slightly off, it was like I was just in my own world thinking everything's just cool, calm, and collected. And I think that comes from experience. I wouldn't say for my first couple that I felt quite so calm and sure of how my body would react or how I would react. But yeah, the experience definitely lends itself to that for sure.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I'll weigh in there a bit, Scott. I really didn't count any miles. I just knew I was running until the day was done, and then I would run through the night until the day would begin. And I would just patch those together until we were done. It was just take care of yourself to make it to the night. Just take care of yourself through the night to make it to the next day. And it's just kind of a string of those events.
So
Yeah,
you
that's
never
the
looked at your
beauty.
watch? You
I
never looked
reset
at your
my
watch to see?
I'll tell you that I reset my watch every aid station as I'm pulling out because I couldn't count on really the miles, but I knew my watch would be good from point to point, but I couldn't take it from the beginning of the race. So I used my watch, but differently than you would think. How about you, Lucia?
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, same thing. It's never, you're never thinking of the whole distance. It's always just one checkpoint to the next. And yeah,
Mhm.
my watch was on a low GPS setting, so I couldn't rely on it either. So yeah, I actually had one moment during the race and it was quite early on, but I thought I was at 55 miles and I was feeling so deflated that I was only 55 miles in. I should be at 75 by now. So I was having a little cry moment. I even messaged Dion, sent him a voice message saying, I can't believe how terrible, how shit I am. Like, I've done all this training and I'm so slow and I don't know how I'm going to finish. And then I turned up at the checkpoint and my crew was there and it was 75 miles, not 55. That's how out of it I was with distance. I was like, oh my goodness, I'm actually doing okay. Yay.
I'll make one
So,
last comment about the watch. When I would reset it each time, it would tell me, "Oh, you have 3 days to recover before your next run." I was like, "Wait a second, I've got to go now."
I have 3 minutes, 3 hours of sleep. Lucia, how do you conquer these? Tell us what is your sleep strategy for these 200 milers, and did that hold in this extra 60 miles or so?
yeah, so going into it, I did think about things a little bit differently, thinking, potentially going to be out there for 5, 6, 7 days, who knows? So I thought I would need to get some more sleep. So I did plan that in a little bit more than previous. But the race for me started at 2 p.m. on the Friday. So we had a wave start. So that kind of
Oh,
shook things up a little bit. Initially, you'd be starting at 11, but the first wave started at 11 and then progressively they had more waves every hour until 2. So sleeping on the first night didn't really make much sense because you'd only been going since 2 o'clock. So that kind of threw things out a little bit. So it wasn't sleeping until the second night essentially. So yeah, and my plan was to get an hour at each crude aid station that was during the night. For me, for some reason, I can't sleep during the day. I've learnt that during other races. So it has to be nighttime and just being prepared for that as well. So luckily for me, I had a crew. So it was using the back of the car, making sure that was comfortable with like a mattress and a duvet cover as well, and lots of pillows to make it comfortable, and alerting my crew to say, before I get in, let's heat up the car, get it nice and toasty. So when I get in, eat something. Important to eat something first before you go to sleep, so it gives your body time to actually use that food and nutrition to start repairing and recovering, and then go and get an hour shut eye and then get back up, knock back a big Starbucks milk, eat some more food and be ready to go. So
Yeah,
yeah, definitely had that strategy.
Scott was kind enough to do that for me to get the car warmed up and lean the seat back,
Hmm.
and I'd eat something to
Yeah.
let myself digest while I was sleeping, and I've got to say, Lucia, I don't know about you, but I'm sure that there was nothing wrong with that car when we left. It must have smelled just fine when we gave it back to the owner.
Yeah, the rental car. The good thing we bought the insurance on the rental car at that time.
Yeah.
Lucia, are you a good sleeper normally? And how does that compare to sleep on the trail?
Well, that's the funny thing because I am such a light sleeper. Like I'm struggling to sleep where we're staying at the moment because I can hear traffic noise, the air conditioning kicks in and off. And when I get to these races, I can sleep anywhere like a baby. Back of the car, like I'm asleep in 30 seconds as soon as I lay down. If I'm having a trail nap, same thing. You know, I literally, before I've even hit the dirt, I'm snoring according to my paces. And I don't normally snore, but there's something about these races that I can sleep anywhere and everything just feels amazing. So, yeah, I can't figure that out. I don't need earplugs. I don't have a face mask on, nothing. I'm just sleeping.
Do you have
Crazy.
issues? Do you have issues when you get into the car and start sleeping with like cramping or muscle spasms or anything? Or does that you're so tired
No.
that your body says, I'm not doing anything?
No, I've never had that going to sleep. I did have that a couple of times waking up where I'd go to sit up and like my right leg had like almost cramp, but not quite. And I was like, yeah, just kind of hold it there. But I think I was very good with my electrolytes and salt intake. So I didn't have any issues with cramping and touch wood. I don't tend to have that. I like my salty food and my salt tablets and pickle juice. And yeah, I'm right on top of the salt. So yeah, that probably makes a big difference for cramping as well. Yeah. So no cramping, no issues waking up.
So if someone out there is listening and said, you know what, I might try this distance. I want to go for 200 or 300 miles. What's some advice you might lend them? What would you tell them?
In specific to sleep or just in general?
Just the race. I mean, make sure you bring an extra pair of shoes. I mean, what kind of advice would you hand off to these would-be finishers?
Well, definitely in terms of the work takes place before the race. So it's being prepared, it's training, you know, planning the work, working the plan, making sure you're connecting perhaps with the right coach. If you're looking for coaching, then that's the right thing to do. Or having a mentor. Like for me, Dion is very much my mentor and coach. But yeah, having someone that you rely on to share that information with you because the 200 plus distance, it's so much more than just running or walking. There's a lot of walking that takes place too, but there's so much more in terms of the sleep, the training, the nutrition, the hydration, the things that go wrong with your body. It's the feet taping. It is everything that you have to do. It's the body taping for the chafing. It's the kit that you use. You know, I spend hours on calls with my clients that are doing these 200 plus distances because there's just so much you have to share. You know, training for a 50 or 100, it's more about the running and doing the strength work and all of that. But this is just so much more. You potentially out there for 5 to 7 days. So there's a lot that can go on. And yeah, the training is slightly different as well. You know, you're looking at honing that walking technique because even the top elite runners that are winning, they're hiking the hills, they're walking some of the flats as well. So it's really practicing all those elements as well, not just going out running. So yeah, it's definitely getting those right people around you and even from your own inner circle. You know, you need people that are going to support you because there's a lot of hours out there training. There's a lot of time out there running the race. And there's a lot of time afterwards where you're incapable of cooking dinner for the family for the next week. So, you know, there's a lot of sacrifice that goes on as well. So being prepared for that.
What, you threw me off there, Don. Oh, Lucia, give us an example of what a training cycle for a 200 or in this case, a 300-mile race looks like. How long is the training cycle? And you mentioned there's a lot more walking and understanding how walking and hiking. What does that look like? How many miles, how many hours, how much walking versus running?
Yeah, I think a lot of it depends on your goals as well. I've got some clients that I'm training and they're only able to commit, you know, 40 to 50 miles a week, and that's their maximum capacity. And they're just looking for a finish, and that's totally doable. For someone that wants to push themselves to the best of their ability, you know, I would be looking at starting training 6 to 12 months out, ideally, but 6 months would work, given that you're probably at 100-mile fitness already. And yeah, looking at doing, starting with a 50-mile being your base week, and then working up to, 60 to 100-mile week here and there, throwing in a few races, but then also looking to get that vert. So depending on the race you're doing, for Bigfoot, for example, you've got 46,000 feet compared to maybe Moab. You want to be doing a lot more vertical. So for this race, I was looking to get around 20,000 feet per week in for vertical training, getting in and doing strength training as well. So for me, when I commit myself and also commit my clients, I'm saying I want, 12 to 20 hours a week of training time. That's what I want you to be able to give me. And that's a mixture of then running. There's a lot of hiking. I love getting my clients to perhaps on the Saturday go out and do a 20-mile run. We use that loosely because you're hiking the hills and running the flats and the downs, but then going back out on the Sunday and doing the same course, but hiking the entire length of that course, because in actual fact, during the race, you're going to be doing that as well, but then hiking with purpose. And you'd be surprised. I've had some of my clients come back and say, wow, it only took me like an hour longer. And I was walking. And it's like, yeah, because you were focused, and you're focused on hitting those minute miles and really walking with purpose as well. So yeah, really changing that up and practicing your nutrition out there. So, putting yourself under the stress, and that might mean getting in a 100-mile race as a training race to test out the nutrition under stress as well, because we can all go out for a 20-mile run and a ham and cheese sandwich tastes great, or a donut, but you get yourself out there and you've been out for 3 days in the hot sun and you've slept for 2 hours. Things don't necessarily go down the same way. So it's trying to mimic that in training to see how your body's reacting to, and training at different times, running through the night, maybe doing double runs, just really stressing the body out, and training hard and then hopefully racing slightly easier.
I want to ask you about temperature out there, because I've got to think there was probably some very hot running, and it may get quite cool at night. I don't know. Tell us in a minute. I wanted to say that running 100 miles compared to 300, and I haven't run 300, but it does not take 3 times as much training, 3 times the distance. You just have to get your body in good shape and then just manage it. It's all about executing a plan and managing, and not letting yourself get buried in some catastrophe.
Yeah, and it has to be your mind that you're training too, because you're right. A 100-mile training plan is not that much different to a 200-mile training plan, but it's up here. If you don't want to finish that race, you're not going to finish that race. It has to be that mental training and understanding how you're going to overcome the negativity, the monkey on your shoulder when the monkey's telling you to quit. What things are you going to tell yourself to get out of that hole and keep moving? Because it's your mind that will give up before your legs, that's for sure. Yeah.
Good point.
Oh, yeah.
Lucia, we've talked about many times when you do these longer races, and you can define what that is for you, that you have to have a purpose. You have to have a why. For this specific race, the Bigfoot 300, what was your why? Was it just to beat Dion's 250-mile record, or what was your why? What was your purpose?
Well, for Arizona Monster 300, it was about doing the furthest distance I've ever done. For me, that was a real milestone. I grew up being the chubby kid. I did not enjoy sport at all. I was the kid who would forge notes from my parents to skip PE class. I would do anything to get out of running. And now to be this person who is willingly signing up for endurance events, it's just mind blowing that it's taken me to travel around the world. So for me, it was really another milestone to hit. Another, do you think I could do that? Because I was always the person that wasn't going to achieve anything in sport. That was not my forte. So for me, it's so empowering and gives me so much confidence to be, being so much stronger than I believed I ever was. So yeah, for me, it was that milestone, not necessarily beating Dion. That's just the icing on the cake, but definitely, setting the bar high. And I love inspiring people as well. So it really helped. I got some messages along the way. I even got a video message from my friend who's a teacher in Texas, and her third grade class had sent through a video message where they were all cheering me on, calling out my name, telling me they were tracking me. And I got that at about 220 miles. And it was like, well, if I had even the inkling I was going to quit, there is no way I can quit now, because I've got these grade 3 kids that are like watching me. And if I fail them, what hope is there for them? You know, I have to finish. So yeah, there's so many different whys along the way that keep you going.
Lucia, I want you to unpack this story of you not being an athlete. You said chubby. What changed? Why did you change, and when did you change? What was there, an event, a mindset? What? Talk to us about that.
Yeah, well, always growing up had just been chubby, voluptuous, whatever you might want to call me. I was fat and got into my early 20s, and yeah, I was about 200 and something pounds. Did not run at all, didn't do any fitness. And, you know, back then, so we're talking like 2003, 2004, they didn't have all the clothing sizes you used to have now. And I was going to have to start shopping in the big girl shop. So that to me was a shocking revelation, because I'd actually never
Mm.
seen myself as fat. I was quite happy, thought I was an attractive looking woman. And then I was having to shop in the big girl shop. Like, what's going on? This is embarrassing. And I took a good look at myself and just went, wow, like I couldn't run around the block. I couldn't lift weights. It's like, what am I doing with myself? So I just decided it was a mindset change. I wanted to be healthier. I wanted to be fitter. I wanted to look better. And I started going to the gym and, you know, doing some fitness classes, working out on the treadmill, and started running. And at one point I could run to one lamppost, walk the next, run the next one. And eventually that, you know, went into running for 30 minutes. And then I thought, oh, wow, I might try and sign up for a 10K race. And I just remember being petrified on race day. I just thought, I'm not even going to finish, or I'm going to come dead last. This is going to be so embarrassing. And just the race atmosphere, it just won me over. Everyone was so friendly and inclusive, and I had so much fun out there, and I finished and I wasn't last. And from there, I just started to think, oh, wow, you know, maybe I should try a half marathon. Finishing that was like unbelievable. This was impossible. Now I've finished a half marathon. Now I'm going to try a marathon. And it just started to give me all this confidence. And, you know, it started to pay off in my work as well, because I was more confident. I was able to
Ah.
be a better manager. And my career started to develop. I started to get promoted. And it was just everything combining into one that, yeah, I think ultra running essentially, well, running in general, not even ultra running, made me into a better person. So that really hooked me from the very start. And it makes me look a lot better. So I love that. And I get to eat as much as I want.
And you know, Lucius, some might even say running even can make you a better human.
Yeah.
Nice.
Sorry, Scott, I had to work that in.
Hey, Lucia, as you say that, it seems like this was like an overnight change from what you were to what you became. And I can't believe that that's how it happened. How did you stay motivated to continue to on this path to change, and how did your identity change? I'm fascinated with that, because you don't identify as that chubby lady anymore. You identify yourself as an athlete and a runner.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that evolution. How long did it take, and when did you finally identify as someone that was physically fit?
Well, that did take a long time. I mean, I started running in that 2003, 2004 time. And I ran my first marathon, as Yana said, 2010. She's got a better memory than me. And from there, I started to work out first ultra in 2013. And even then, I just felt like an imposter, a fraud.
Mm.
I'd stand at the start line, and everyone around me looked so much fitter and more experienced than me. I'd look in the mirror and still see the same fat girl. So it really wasn't until probably 2019 running UTMB. That was the year I did that, that I finally started to feel like I belonged in that community and that I was fit. I was an athlete. You know, it was always kind of almost like a giggly, oh, I'm an athlete. So I'm not really, but I am. I am an athlete and I need to own that. And I think that's come from years of going through it, building that confidence and believing in yourself. I think that's the biggest thing, is that belief in yourself, and then understanding that you are indeed an athlete, whether you're first place or whether you're last place. As long as you're lacing up your shoes and you're getting out there giving it a go, you're an athlete. So it doesn't matter how long things are taking you, it's just getting out there and giving it a go. But that did take me quite a while. It definitely was not overnight. And even occasionally now I'll walk past a shop window and see my reflection and do a double take. So I'm like, oh, who is that fit person? Oh, that's me. Oh, wow. So, you know, it's a lot of embedded years of thinking you're someone you're not. So yeah, it did take a long time.
I'm seeing that there's probably a correlation here. Maybe, maybe not. I'm not I'm not a psychologist by training. Where it took you 16 years from 2003 to 2019 to finally believe in your identity as a runner. That's a long time, 16 years. And then I look at a 300-mile race, 122 hours. That's a long race where you have to put one foot in front of the other and continue to do things with maybe not seeing the end of the tunnel or seeing the finish line, but you have faith or whatever, stick-to-itiveness, discipline to continue to do it, knowing that the result is going to come. Am I being a good therapist right now, Lucia?
Absolutely. And it is all that mindset and controlling, you know, it's controlling the controllables when you're out there. You know, you can't control what the weather is doing. You can only control what clothing am I putting on to deal with it? What am I drinking to deal with the heat or the cold? Or what am I eating? How am I dealing with my own mental attitude? You know, it's having that positive attitude and saying good things to yourself. Like previously to 2019, I would berate myself during a run and say, oh, you're so slow, you're terrible, you know, what do you think you're doing out here? Whereas now I've trained myself to think, well, what would you say to your best friend? What would I say to Yana when she's out there? I wouldn't tell her she was slow or she was doing terribly. I'd be saying how awesome she is, how great she's looking, how strong she is, how inspiring she is. And it's like, well, why do we tell our friends that and not ourselves that? So I've turned that around to start saying those things to myself. And it really does make a difference. You know, what you tell yourself is what then comes back out. So yeah, it's just having that positive attitude and that mindset, believing, like you said, there is light at the end of the tunnel, and just making it into bite-sized chunks. You know, you cannot think of a 300-mile finish. It was, the first checkpoint was 6 point something miles. It's like, just got to get there. Then from there, it's 20 miles to the next one. Okay, just got to get there. And just having those little carrots. It's like, oh, I'm going to see my crew at mile 75. Great. I get a chocolate milk. That's my carrot. Let's go. Just having all those little things to keep you motivated along the way and keeping it positive. Even when you're down, you've got to lift it back, turn it positive.
Ryan, I need a buzzer. I need some kind of a buzzer that would recognize golden nuggets. And if you didn't catch it, because she glossed over it very quickly, the golden nugget I took out of that is we have to be nicer to ourselves than we would be to a friend or a colleague that we're running with or that we're working with. Treat yourself like you would treat someone else. And boy, that's nice. That's a good golden nugget.
Even your dog. Like I see myself when I'm out with Gobi, I'm like, oh, Gobi, you're doing so great. Good girl. You're so strong. It's like, that's how you should talk to yourself. Like, come on, we need to be better at that, don't we? So much better.
I'm going to piggyback on that. And I'm going to say that the way that you speak to yourself in those unkind ways, when you're really giving yourself the worst of it. Imagine saying that to someone next to you. You would never do it, ever. Could you imagine even having it come out of your mouth and spill into their ear? Would you say, boy, you are really screwed up here. You didn't do your training. You went out too fast. You should have ate some of that. You picked the wrong clothing. You were just the worst. What do you even run? You would never say that to people. Although I've said all those things to myself. As I started saying them, they just lined right up. I had to stop myself somehow.
Yeah, that's right, isn't it? And the other thing you need to do is you have to embrace the suck. It's like before I start these races, I'm always thinking about, I want to get to that point where you're in the depths of despair, where you're questioning your life choices, because that's where the magic happens. Like, that's when you actually change as a person, because you're problem solving, you're getting out of those moments, and they're really the moments to cherish, because that's what you've paid the big bucks for. Let's face it, these races aren't cheap. So you're paying the big bucks for that suffering. So let's get some of that suffering. I want to feel it. I want to feel alive when I'm out there and come back through the other side. So yeah, let's embrace the suck as well.
Well, you're right. There's a lot of life changes that happen during a race like that. And there is an expense for that. There are life changes to go to a therapist, and there's an expense for that. I don't know who gets the bigger bang for the buck. I think it's the race actually that you get the bigger reward.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, you talked about going into the depths of despair. Maybe you didn't say that, but I heard the low spots, the dark spots, and we get those. About how many low spots happen in 300 miles? Do you get one or two, or there's just a series of good and bad for 300 miles? What do you experience?
They're lined up.
Yeah.
They're lined up, ready to knock you down.
There's no counting. They're just consistent.
They are, yeah. I couldn't even count them, and they happen so frequently and infrequently. And it is almost like they're lined up. It's like, yeah, we're feeling good, we're having a great moment, and then bang, it's like, oh no, we're not feeling good anymore. Like, just got to get over that bit. So yeah, a lot of lows and a lot of highs.
I'm going to ask Scott's question. And he loves this one, and he's still searching for the answer. Is the reason I know he was going to ask it today. So, how do you get out of those lows? What special
That's exactly
button do you have that you can push?
Well, again, it's that mindset control. It is like trying to bring yourself back out of it. It's like trying to realize this is what you came for. So thinking about it, it's like, right, well, should I try drinking something? Should I try eating something? Do I need a salt tablet? Do I need to go to the toilet? Do I need a 1-minute trail nap? Do I need to just actually, me and my pacer did this. Do we just need to scream at the desert? So at one point we just screamed out, "We're alive!" And it just got you, like, you couldn't help but smile, and we were laughing at each other. And it just really changed the moment, because it was kind of like that moment where you're just trudging along, and we'd been through the night together, and it was like, she was just probably thinking, how am I going to wake this girl up? Like, she is sleeping on her feet here. And just things like that. And maybe playing some music. Some people phone a friend, all of those things, listen to a podcast. Know a couple I could recommend.
So by now you're an expert at going into the depths of despair. I mean, you've got credentials. And how can you see the problems coming? Can you sense that, you know what, things aren't going right? I know where I'm going to end up. I need to make an adjustment right now. Fuel, sleep, whatever. Change your clothes.
Yeah, some of them definitely. Some of them take you by surprise, but definitely some of them you can feel that sleep deprivation coming on. You start to get the woozies, walking like you're a bit drunk. So it's thinking, okay, well, how far is it to the next checkpoint? Can I push through by eating some chocolate or taking some caffeine or a caffeine gel? Or do I need to take a nap now, because this is now going to extend, 2 miles could now suddenly take 2 hours. Whereas if I have a nap now, I could still get it done in an hour, even with a 10-minute nap. Sometimes I can feel that nausea coming on. It's like, okay, what haven't I done right? My electrolytes are off. Like, let's get a salt pill down before I start vomiting. Or I'm getting too hot. Like, can I get some water on my forehead and on my arms? And, if there's things you can do to kind of alleviate that. But sometimes it just takes you by surprise. You'll be heading up a mountain, and suddenly you bend over and you're vomiting. You're like, where did that come from? I was feeling good 2 minutes ago. So then it's the problem solving. It's like, okay, what am I going to put back in?
It's 300 miles of problem solving. It's like,
It
I'm
is.
doing good. How do I keep doing good? So you're still solving that problem. How do I stay on top? Things are
Mhm.
going very well. How do I stay in this place? So you're thinking about what's going on. And then if you miss it and you slide and you're down, you've got to pull yourself out. So there's a lot of thinking that goes on in these races.
There is, and it's constant. Like the whole time, you're just sensor checking. Okay, what's going on with my head, my arms, my body? What's pulling? What's chafing? What's hurting? What should I ignore? What should I fix? And yeah, so you're busy the whole 300 miles, which is, I think, why afterwards, I think I was like brain dead for 2 weeks. I was like in this brain fog of like, huh, what's going on? Because you've spent so much time thinking.
And
Yeah.
almost no time for music or anything or listening to a book because I'm too busy solving problems. I don't have time to listen
Yeah.
to music. It's a distraction.
It is actually. I find it a huge distraction. I have it there for emergencies, but
Right.
I'll listen to it for like 5 minutes, do a bit of a jive, and then I'm like, okay, that's too annoying now. I need to put that away.
Yeah. Go ahead,
Yeah.
Scott. I interrupt you.
Yeah, Lucia, you've had a lot of experience doing these longer races. After the 2 weeks of brain fog, we're now sitting a little over a month, or a month
Yeah.
past the finish.
Hmm.
As you were evaluating your race, is there anything that you learned at the Monster 300? Is there something new that you took away from the Monster 300 that is going to help you?
Well, I think what I would like to do is go and do a proper salt test. I
Mm.
haven't had that done yet, so I have heard a lot of people getting that done, and I think I did really well with my electrolytes on this race. But I did have a couple of moments where it must have slipped, and I wasn't taking enough. So I think I really would like to go and get that salt test done, just so I can nail that down precisely and be like, well, should I be taking 800 milligrams per hour? Or is it 1,000, or am I 1,500? Everybody's so different. So I think that's a big thing. And I just learned, I guess, more about, I really researched this race well, looking at
Hmm.
what the different terrain was, where you could make up time, where I'm going to lose time, and putting that into practice beforehand and during the race. And also now looking ahead, I've got my next big race in August. I'm going back to Scotland to run the race across Scotland, 215 miles, which is going to be a completely different race than Arizona because it's going to be cold compared to Arizona. It's a faster course. There's a 100-hour cutoff as opposed to most of the 200 milers here, which are 107 plus for 15 miles more. So I know there's faster finishing times. So looking at adapting my training for that as well, and running faster, running more hill intervals, and yeah, getting quicker at those checkpoints. I think that's my downfall is I like to enjoy my time at the checkpoints and hang out with everyone. And so I need to make those a little bit quicker as well. Watching the Cocodona 250 live stream at the moment, and you've got Courtney Dauwalter and that going through in 3 minutes at a checkpoint. It's like, oh wow, I'm taking a little longer than that at a checkpoint. So taking that away. Yeah, but definitely I think that research beforehand really paid off. So for me, that was the most I'd researched a race beforehand in terms of really thinking about where the pressure points might be in a race as well, especially with the staggered start. And that really paid off at one point because we had the first big aid station was 45 miles in, and it was like a war zone because literally all the waves like congested at this one aid station, and there was wait times for food, and just thank goodness I'd thought about that and had a drop bag planned with a sandwich with a Starbucks milk in there so it could just grab and go rather than actually waiting around and waiting for food. So yeah, I think that is definitely a big learning, is just doing so much research, listening to all the podcasts that you can out there about it, and yeah, understanding what the race is going to be like. Definitely a big learning point.
Let's learn something a little bit about the protagonist in this story. Let's talk about the race. People that don't know what Arizona weather is, the Sonoran desert. Tell us a little bit about the climate and the topography you were running in.
Yeah, well, one thing I'd heard beforehand from a girl that I actually coach, Jennifer Goins, who lives in Phoenix, and she always was cursing the Arizona rocks. And yeah, believe you me, those Arizona rocks, they just did not end. And they really bashed your feet. I mean, I was great at my foot taping. I could say I had no blisters. I think I had two that I quickly popped and they were gone. But my feet just felt like they'd been like smashed with rocks on them. Like they just felt bruised. So yeah, the topography was really tough. So definitely having comfortable shoes and good cushioning and all of that along the way. There was a section where there was 40-mile section of a paved section on the bike path, so that was a big difference when you think you're going out trail running but you're doing 40 miles on a paved path. I changed into road shoes for that and had a different strategy as well, because I think it was 160 miles in, so it's like, well, do you run the whole road section to make up time, or do you plan to do a run walk strategy and sort of set that target of 15-minute miles and run walk to keep at that target? So it's thinking about that. It's the heat was a massive issue at the back end of the race because it really started to get warm, and bearing in mind it was probably only in the high 80s, which is, I don't know, what's that, 30 degrees, which for Arizona isn't particularly hot. But when you've been out for 3 days already, believe you me, that's really hot. But on the top of Mount Lemmon, there was snow. So you were going from, 0 degrees Celsius or 30 degrees Fahrenheit down to nearly 90 degrees Fahrenheit and in the 30s Celsius. So there was a big difference of clothing you needed to have, sunscreen. I wore a big floppy hat to protect myself from the sun and a sun shirt, which I was so glad I did. I was actually going to wear a visor from the start, and Dion said, I think you should wear your big hat. And I was like, it just looks so dorky. I want to wear my visor. But I tell you, on the second day when the sun was blaring down, I was like, oh, thank you, Dion. Yes, I'm wearing my sun hat. So, yeah, the weather was dry. I've never had so much blood in my nose as well. My poor white sun shirt was streaked with blood because I kept having to pick my nose, as glamorous as that is, but it was dried up blood all the time. So yeah, it was, and the cactus, there's cactus. I had the choya, the jumping choya jumped on
I've heard
me.
about that.
Yeah,
Wow.
I always thought that was a myth. And no, I had one jump on the back of my calf, and luckily I was able to flick it back out with my pole, but I had a special comb in my pack in case I needed to get some cactus out. So yeah, that was another different experience. Was there's so much cactus, like one stumble and your race could be over if you land in one of those cactus. So yeah, the topography was definitely challenging. There was very technical sections to very untechnical. So at one point you're hiking and scrambling, and the next point you could be running, your fastest miles on the road. So yeah, it was a very varied terrain, that's for sure.
Let's talk about that road section. You said 160 miles in, 40 miles worth of paved road. So how did you manage it? What did you do? Did you pick up time? Did you run walk?
I did the run walk strategy, discussed that with Dion beforehand. And yeah, we thought that was the sensible way to do it because you still had another 140 miles to go. So smashing up your legs running on the road was probably not the right way to do it. Plus, I was in there during the day and it just felt ridiculously hot. So it was a great time to just walk, run, and really target that 15-minute miles. And yeah, my first part of it was actually during the night, and I had a surprise pacer during this section. So I had the one and only Camille Herron, who's like world record holder, and she came to pace me for like a 14-mile section during the night, and I was just flabbergasted because I was like, oh my goodness, does she realize we're doing like 15-minute miles, not 5-minute miles?
She probably caught onto it in about minute 6. She could see this isn't going to go a 5-minute mile. Tell us about, I've got a couple questions about your gear. I mean, if somebody's listening to this is thinking, I want to do the 300. This is a spot to get some information and maybe something you can pass on. One pair of shoes, 2 pairs of shoes, what kind of shoe, high stack? Tell us about the shoes and the socks.
Okay, so I'll start from the feet. So I do foot taping beforehand. So I tape up some hot spots and I put moleskin under, then Leuco tape over the top. And I had taped up my little pinky toes because they always get really blistered. And I wear dry max socks over the top. And for the first, must have been about the 160 miles, that I did not touch the tape, didn't do anything with
Mm.
that. Got it changed at 160 miles, put the tape back on without the moleskin, and that saw me through to the finish. So that was spot on. And I started off with the Ultra Wild experience, I think they're called. So they're the new ones from Ultra that have a 4 millimeter drop. Because previously I'd run in Ultra, but I can't do the 0 drop. So I'd gone off Ultra, gone to Hoka, come back to Ultra. So yeah, I did that for the first 160. Then I changed into Mount to Coast R1s for the 40-mile road section, and actually did that for 50 miles. So 10 miles was on like soft trail, and they were fine for that. And they were really nice and cushioned. I think they're 6 millimeter drop actually. So yeah, and I had gaiters on for the first 160 miles, and then I didn't put them on again for the rest of the race. But from the road section, I switched out of the Mount to Coast into the New Balance Hieros, because I just felt my ultras were quite snug, and the Hieros felt more like putting on a pair of slippers. And I thought, okay, the last 100 miles I'm just going to do in my slippers. They were nice and comfortable. I could undo the laces a bit more, and yeah, and that was great. I think that was the only times I changed shoes. So yeah, 3 pairs of shoes, probably changed socks maybe 4 or 5 times, and yeah, just the same different fresh pairs, but dry mat socks along the way.
It makes a huge difference to make a change. It freshens things up. It gives you a second lease on, or a fourth lease on your life as you're making your way through. Scott?
I wanted to get into the hallucinations. In the intro, Yana talked about these cats that you saw on a rock, and I don't know what race that was, but in the 300-mile race, did you see some hallucinations? Did you take any good photographs?
I actually didn't on this one. I thought I was hallucinating at one point because there was a dead deer on the path, and my pacer had run straight past it. And so I stopped, and I'm like, did she not see that? Is that not here? Like, what's going on? But it was actually there. So that was all fine. But no, I didn't have any fun hallucinations here. But I remember in Bigfoot, I had seen Michael Jackson. And yeah,
Wow.
I had seen, yeah, he was pretty cool. I took a photo of him as well. And that was just a tree skeleton. But the Cats on Rocks, that was at Oman by UTMB. It was a 130-kilometer race with like 2 times the height of Everest climbing. And yeah, I was seriously hallucinating there. And I was patting the cats, but I was actually patting rocks. So yeah, that was and even past the event, I was sat back in the hotel, and I was angry at Dion because all my photos were all mixed up. I had photos his image was in with the rocks, and but it was all just my mind playing tricks. So
where's all the cats? Where's all the pictures of the cats? Somebody's been messing with my phone.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yana wrote that. It made me smile because I thought back to the time that I brought back this picture for Scott to look at an aid station. And I said, look at this sculpture. It's a bear trying to strike a fish that's jumping out of the river. Look at this. And he just shook his head. No, it's not. But I was certain.
It's a rock.
I went back and took a picture of it because I was convinced that's what it was.
Yeah, it's amazing when you have them. Like, you know that it's not really there, but you're still seeing it anyway. It's just kind of crazy. In Tahoe, I was seeing little children in the forest that were waving at me, and I was telling my friend about it at 3 a.m, and she was like, "Can you stop telling me what you're seeing? Because this is really freaky."
So, Lucia, I want to know, running these races, you got to have a little bit of confidence. What is your superpower? And the sub question is the superpower that you have something that came naturally to you, or is it something that you've developed?
Oh, that's a tough one. I've always thought my superpower is recovery, actually. So I recover from races really quickly. And I feel like I'm almost recovering during the race as well. And yeah, I can be, a couple of days out from the race and I'm walking normally. I mean, even after the 300, 2 days later, I was back at work and I'm walking normally. It's like, this is ridiculous. Like, I need a sign on my head saying what I've just done because no one knows.
No one believes you.
Yeah, it's so unfair. So I think that's my superpower. And I think that's just come from always, like, I eat everything. I have a very balanced diet in terms of I eat meat, vegetables, fats, cheeses. I eat desserts. I eat bad food. I drink beer. I drink wine. I drink milk. I drink lots of water. Like, I eat good stuff. I eat bad stuff. And I think it's that balanced approach that has made my body really strong, because it seems to get everything it needs. So yeah, recovery seems to be my superpower. And I think that really helps. In particular, I've done a lot of multi-stage races as well, which I guess is different to these races because you're getting a full night's sleep every night. And I've always found I do better at these longer distances because I seem to just stay strong. So yeah, I really put that down to just eating everything, drinking everything, and being strong in the body. So yeah, so I'd say recovery is my superpower on the go and afterwards.
Yeah, I'm going to take just
That's
a
very
race
good.
distance, 200 miles, just for sake of conversation. And would you rather run that 200 all in one go, or break it up into a 4-day stage race? Which do you think would be easier?
Oh, with like organized.
Yeah. Go to the tent.
Organized.
Yep.
Yeah.
Dinner with the
Yeah.
group. Wake up at 7 and get to the start.
Yeah. Well, they both have different elements, like the multi-stage scenario where you are stopping every day and camping overnight.
Mhm.
Everyone's getting together. It's a more social activity and you get to know people much more. Whereas these point-to-point races where the clock doesn't stop, you chat to a few people along the way, but you're not really spending quality time with them. So yeah, I think the multi-stage races would be more fun, but I think personally I'm more excited by pushing yourself and yeah, doing the 200-mile distance like that. For me would be the winner. Yeah.
Yeah, and I would think that sleeping during the night would give me a chance to get very stiff and very inflammation to come and gather where all the spots that are painful and make it very difficult to get going the next morning. I think I'd rather just push through and get it over with.
Yes, that's true. Like I've done Marathon des Sables twice across the Sahara Desert, and that rest day they give you, it's like, oh, I'd rather just go and run today and have it over and done with because, yeah, now your body's starting to give you all the aches and pains. It's like, yeah, let's just go, get it done. Agreed.
But I thought you recovered quick. You could just wake up the next morning and go, hey, I'm ready to run a race.
Yeah, you're
I didn't do anything
superpower.
yesterday.
You're superpower. Don't forget that. You're superpower.
Yeah, well, it is. And I'd still do better than other people because they're suffering even more. But
Yes.
yeah, I'd rather just get it done and then start the real recovery. Yeah, which would involve pedicure, massage, spa day, etc. as well.
Lucia, you mentioned that you're going over to Scotland to run this race.
Mhm.
Is that your next race on the calendar, or what else do you got going the rest of the year?
Well, I'm doing the Broken Arrow Triple Crown around Lake Tahoe in June. So that's 3 days where you do a vertical kilometre Friday, which is 5 kilometres with 1,000 metres of vertical gain. And then the next day you do like 46K, I want to say, and then 35K on the Sunday, all with a lot of vert and being up at altitude as well. So a bit more shorter and sharper, be home before dinner. So that'll be, yeah, a little bit of different training. And then I have a Cascade Crest 100 miles in July. And then 3 weeks later, head over and do Scotland 215. So yeah, just got a few tune-up races and a bit of fun. And I'm doing Cascade Crest because it's a Western and hard rock qualifier. So double whammy there with one race. So yeah, that should be good.
Both you and go ahead, Scott. Both you and here's my question. You can straighten this out, Ryan. Both you and Dion have incredible stories. He started off in a bar betting a friend about doing a marathon and not being in shape even enough to run down the street, and he committed himself to this race and told his friend, I can beat you, don't worry about it. And you, of course, reminded him that next morning what he had committed to. And then
Yes.
you starting off not identifying as an athlete and moving into doing some very elite distances here. It's amazing that you both have similar stories.
Yes, and he's been a big part of that as well in terms of building my confidence. I think he's always believed in me a lot more than I believed in myself to begin with. So having, like I said before, surrounding yourself with the right people, having Dion in my corner
Yep.
has been phenomenal in that, because he's always been encouraging me to just go out and give it a try. And he's like, you're so much better than what you say. Like, you've just got to believe in yourself and get that competitive spirit. So yeah, it's been great having him in my corner for that as well. And hopefully I give that to the people I coach too. I try to encourage them. And actually I had someone I coached for the Arizona Monster, and he finished as well. So shout out to
Nice.
Travis, who did his first 300 after doing his first 100 in January, and getting to
Wow.
the finish. So like I said, it's about belief and having someone going to help you to the finish as well. So yeah.
Very nice.
That's great. Well, Lucia, thank you for coming on and sharing your story. It's been a lot of fun to talk to you, and I think we learned some good things. I have that golden nugget already bookmarked, and hopefully that'll help me become a better runner. And Don, maybe a better human being. You can find out more at their website, findinggobi.com. If you haven't listened to that episode, please click on the link. It's a fascinating story. If you haven't read the book, get the book. There's multiple versions of the book. There's a kid's version. I don't know how many versions there are there, Lucia.
We've got 6 books, so there's enough to keep you busy. Something for every age in the family.
And Lucia,
and if someone,
go ahead, Scott.
And if someone wants some coaching, I didn't know that you did some coaching. Can they find you at Finding Gobi there also, or is there another way to get a hold of you?
No, I have my own website, runningdutchie.org, or find me on Instagram as Running Dutchie. And I do coaching, online coaching, like to catch up with people, take them on training weekends, etc. as well. And it's lots of fun. So I'm coaching people from their first 50K to their first 300 miles and everything in between. So love it.
So is 300 is that the pinnacle? Is that it, or would you consider 301? And hopefully Candace isn't listening to this, because she'll start opening up her maps.
I'm thinking of a race I'm going to start called the California 500. Would you sign up for that? Would you sign up for the California 500?
I probably would, I just, stupidly, I probably would. But no, I think 300 is plenty. I think it'll be nice to do 215 and be done a little quicker. 3 or 4 days is plenty of time out there. 5 and more. Oh, I don't know about that. That's getting a little long now. So let's keep it at around the 200, I think. But if you do the 500, I'll come along. I'll sign up. Why not? I'll support you.
Lucia, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a great discussion. If you have some shoes that you are sitting out in your closet, out in your garage that are a little dusty, dust them off, put them on, find a trail, find a friend, and go out and run.
Mas.